Welcome to this SOCSoter Unfiltered podcast with your host, Melissa Kaiser. Now let's get started with the show.
Hello, everybody. Melissa Kaiser here, host of the SOCSoter Unfiltered podcast. Today we have Janine Medina, Director of Operations at SOCSoter. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
Before we dive in, we need to do a quick word from our sponsor. So SOCSoter's goal is to be a true partner and extension of their customers' team with clients, customers, and community. SOCSoter is a US-based 24-hour SOC SIM. They help their partners address cybersecurity, vulnerability management, and compliance requirements and needs. All right, got that out of the way. So, Janine,
Yes.
you just started here.
I
You are Operations Director of Operations. So, tell me what you do and what does that mean?
There are a lot
For
of
everybody.
different joining parts that may not talk to each other. So sales, marketing, tech, cybersecurity, all of that. I'm kind of that cog that starts moving everybody together so that one hand understands what the other is doing. Everybody is working together. It's effortless. We just have normalized conversations, translating tech into cyber into sales into marketing, all of that, just making it all work together or attempting to make it all work together.
So, how did you get into cyber? Like, what's your background? How long have you been into it? Like, what have you done? Because I know you have a pretty cool background and it's pretty colorful and you've done a lot of cool things. So, can you just talk about that?
I think my favorite tagline is I literally do nothing. So I started in tech about 20 years ago. I was working at a nunnery. That is not a joke. I like doing that to people. What was your
Let me
first
guess,
job?
are you Jewish then?
No,
Because
no. It was a job. I was an administrative assistant at a nursing home for nuns. That is not a hyperbole. That is not a joke.
Oh,
That is so real. And
wow.
I moved over into the
Did you have to
maintenance.
did you have to go to mass like 3 times a day?
No,
Oh,
no,
okay. I didn't think it
they
was a
were
requirement.
they were I don't want to say lenient, but they understood that some people were not of the same faith, and they they
We're okay with that.
yeah,
Okay.
they were okay with it. They
Okay.
tried to influence us, but it was like, thanks, guys. I think at that time I also had like flame red hair and one nose ring and a lot of other things going on. So I was young, I was going through my phases in life. And then I started working in the maintenance of the building. So doing the ICF, the industrial control systems. What was the water temp, what was the pressures, things like that. And we still were in the cybersecurity phases of life. Um, Ended up finishing university, started working in the hospitals of New York. After that, I've worked in most of the hospitals here. Um,
Mhm.
First doing clinical informatics and as
What's
meaning
that?
so
Clinical? Yeah, I
so
never
when you
heard of
go
that.
to the doctor and they're typing up their notes for you, I did all the back end on that. So I did the
Oh,
guts of what they
okay.
would write and then they just fill in. So it's like Mad Libs where patient
Hmm.
came in with and then they fill that out. So that's what I was doing. And I primarily did it for surgical oncology later in life, but I worked at a 22 facility multi-specialty
Hmm.
clinic. So I did everybody's stuff and then I focused on surge. And once I was doing surgical oncology, that's when meaningful use came out. And meaningful use dictated that the hospitals would get paid back if they were instantiating different parts of the electronic medical record. So now there was a race to getting everything finished because you had different timeframes to do it.
What year was that came out? I'm very
I think,
chronological order. Like, so you
it's,
started this in early 2000s, mid
yeah,
2000s? Okay.
early 2000s.
Okay.
This was around, I think, 2008 that all of this was starting to happen. And so meaningful use, we were pushing to get all of this done, and we did. We did in a couple of the hospitals that I worked at, and it was a pressure test, and it was probably one of the most, I don't think probably, it was one of the most gratifying jobs I've ever had because you saw results almost immediately because all of that data was getting pushed into dashboards. You saw
Mhm.
everything happening. So we leaned away from the paper. We went into clinical documentation on the technology side and the computers. And I've done RIOs, so regional health information organizations. State of New York has an HIE, the city, the different boroughs have RIOs. Got really tired of that because it's exhausting and I burned out, and I went into banking. And finance has laws that are just gorgeous, beautifully done, because 2008 kicked everybody's ass.
Yeah.
And they are so well structured. And I was like, why doesn't healthcare have this? I feel like there's protocols for everything here. Why don't we have the same protocols? Did a lot of innovation in the bank, because they were like, you have great ideas, you come from a different sector, do something else here. So I ended up creating like a node system there where you could see where people were, were their computers on, what was on their computer. They could keylog if they thought that there was some kind of threat going on. Things like that. It was great.
So were you like, was that more like that was more like IT then, not really cybersecurity yet?
So
Was
it was,
it or a little?
it's both, because if we are trying to figure out where people are, that's not just IT. You can ping people's computers, but if there's a VPN, you have to bypass all those things to get to the guts of it. So it was both. It was a really nice mixture of it. Worked for the government doing cybersecurity for healthcare again, because I was like, yes, there's a conduit. And then I started working for the medical device manufacturers and doing more of the regulatory side for the medical devices in the 16 critical infrastructures. And that's so between like 2020, after COVID, right? So after COVID, everybody really started to having to pay attention to the regulations, because everybody realized that healthcare was getting attacked. We knew it before, but we felt it now. And regulations became a real thing. So I became really good at the regulations, started working everybody through them. And it's similar to what you're doing, right? With CMMC. Everybody.
Yeah, but the thing is that healthcare doesn't have a sharp stick, not at the lower levels. I don't see that at, my doctor level, dentist, that sort of thing. I just don't see that.
I love that as a conduit, because I've been thinking about this all morning. So yes and no-ish. The small to medium organizations do have to abide by the regulations.
But they don't all the time.
So yes, but I think it's a financial and knowledge situation where they don't know how to do the things because they don't have enough people there. And really, if you are stymied by the amount of funds you have, you're not gonna be able to do things, or at least not to the level that you're supposed to. And I was thinking about that this morning, where how can or what does an MSP do for smaller organizations? And I started thinking about the Three Little Pigs. And humor me, because
I see where this goes.
Right? So
okay.
So you can have nothing, right? You're just YOLOing it, and you have everything connected, and you're like, I'm fine, it's fine. So that's your house made of straw, because if the big bad wolf comes, he's going to be able to see everything that you have online or not cyber protected, and just, you're done, you're gone. And if you put straws together, and now that's your house, okay, there's a little more fortitude there, but the big bad wolf can still come in, blow your house down, knock it over, take one, and it falls, and then you're still running. But then if you make yours out of brick, the big bad wolf, it's going to either take so much time or a demolition ball or him to actually physically enter the premises for the house to come down. That was what my theory was for how an MSP can be described in the least complex, most tangible way. So, and weirdly, I do have the wolf tattoo. That was not my moment for this, but here we are. So, and that was my theory with you too, because you and I were talking about compliance yesterday, and I do not know CMMC as well as you do. So we're reversing the cars now, because now it's your interview. Plot twist. So
because I have an opinion about the healthcare. I totally have an opinion.
Oh.
So I've talked to some MSPs that are not our current partner, and they are saying, oh, well, we help our customers be HIPAA compliant. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. What tools do you use? And it's just like your basic tool set. I was like, oh, we have antivirus, we have a firewall, And that's about it. And I'm like, that's not HIPAA compliant. You're not helping your customer be HIPAA compliant. So it's just like, and you're selling this service? Did you have you even look at the HIPAA controls? I know the HIPAA controls, the reason I don't like HIPAA is because you can read into them so much. You can make it super easy
Yep.
or you can make it super hard. But these guys weren't even like fulfilling the HIPAA requirements at the super easiest version. And so that really makes me mad because they're telling their customers, their dentists, their optometrists, their general practitioner, you are good. And I'm like, no, you're not. Why are you lying to them? They're not. And so if they do get hit, they get put up on the house of shame or the list of shame, right? From I forgot the name. Oh,
HHS.
HHS. I thought there was
HHS
another one.
ONC.
That the one, okay. Yeah, and it's just like why don't you just open the book and just read the HIPAA regulations? But MSPs, I don't know. I don't know. It irritates me. It makes me angry because they put themselves as a subject matter expert and they're not. It's just like, just talk to me or just read the regulation or now use AI and see what kind of tools you use. Because all the frameworks require the same tools. But if you're not even deploying the tools, one of these tools or a third of them, you're not helping your customer. And they're relying on you to be the expert.
I think there's layers to this because right now we're at HIPAA, just HIPAA, which will very soon be called HIPAA 1.0. And a lot of
Yeah, I'd
people
like to know about that because I don't know
Yeah.
anything because I know you're looking at 1.0. What does that mean? So, okay,
So
sorry, go
1.0
ahead.
is just the normal HIPAA right now. And when everybody looks at it, they're talking about we need privacy. Yes, you do need
Yeah.
privacy. There's so much more in there. But because we're already going away from that, we can say what we want about this. I am more focused on HIPAA 2.0 right now.
Yeah, okay, so HIPAA
Because
2.0, what is that? Is that a lot better?
there's
I hope
so much
so.
depth. I don't know if you want to call it that. I think it's beautiful, but I love regulations. So HIPAA 2.0 is we're still looking at privacy. We're still looking at you don't let information out that shouldn't be in there, with the caveat that now HIPAA 2.0 is also looking at your devices. It is making sure that it's not just that your information isn't going out, it's that these devices and the EMRs are also not leaking information. And there is
So
a cybersecurity parameter in here.
so is the onus on the medical device companies and the MSPs or all of it? What does
So
that
it's
mean?
going to end up being a joint, I think, because there's layer. I love your questions. So the medical device manufacturers are their safety and cybersecurity safety are determined by FDA. FDA says, yes, you're good to go. Those things go out in the world. So you have that. And then you're supposed to know there's a certification for EMRs, ISH, ONC kind of decides those, and Joint Commission, which are also coming out with something cool, can say your stack is good, you're subscribed, here's your stamp, you're good to go. So when you go into wherever you are, whatever hospital you are, it is you as the hospital, you have to ensure that your stack is complete. And I do this as the example. You have a Tesla car made by Tesla in the back end, that's your software. You have a Samsung TV, you have a Viking stove, and your dishwasher is GE, whatever. And you can do all of this on your phone, right? You can start your dishwasher, you can start your things, but they're all on the same network, your house network, but they're made by different people in the back end. It's the same thing when you're in the hospital. You have all of these different devices around you, and you're like, I'm just being taken care of really well by X hospital. When the X hospital has given you 5, on average, it's 5 different devices that you are hooked up to that you're hoping and praying are secured. Because they're there, you suspect that the FDA has cleared them, you're good to go. And I think that's one of the other problems, like sidebar. I think too many people think that the FDA controls, I love the FDA, this is not a cost. There's this overarching understanding that the FDA runs all of healthcare. They don't. There's a whole map of different organizations that run it. And I feel like that is a source of confusion as well. Anyway, with HIPAA 2.0, you have to understand your cybersecurity stack. You have to make sure that information isn't getting leaked out. You have to know where things are. There's more process. Do you have redundant systems? Do you have backups? Do you have remediation tactics? What are your timeframes to getting things fixed? And the comma is Joint Commission, the Joint Commission is also working on a cyber readiness, cyber resiliency readiness, something like that, for the whole hospital now. So I think that's going to be a new certification accreditation.
So this is mostly for hospitals. What about those one-person practices? Do
They will
they
still
fall
have
under
to abide by HIPAA.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is where the resource becomes a challenge for them. Now, is there going to be with HIPAA 2.0, is there going to be a sharp stick other than you need to do this? Do they need to report to FDA, HHS?
So if anything happens, I forgot what it is. It's one of the gov sites. It's OIC, Office of
Okay.
it's a OIG, sorry, Office of Investigator General. If they get hacked into, they go up on a grid and it says X hospital, cybersecurity incident, whatever number of things were found, and the date. And you get put up on this list. And there are remediation actions. And sometimes people are fined.
Oh, they're not always fined. I thought they were always fined per record lost.
So it is per records lost, exactly.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if they're saying that the OT was taken or something in their situation, in something in their clinic was OT, that's not a privacy loss. That's operational technology. Their air conditioner wasn't working that day. So if it's EMRs or anything to do with the patients, they do get fined. And then you're creating other loss, right? So now my billing is late because my EMR went down or whatever else thing went down. It's creating different chasms of one, understanding, two, I'm supposed to be billing, I'm supposed to be doing all of this extra work, and I'm just getting bombarded by people wanting to know what happened. How am I going to fix this? The knowledge and then the lack of knowledge and nobody meeting in the middle to explain it, or at least give people the consideration to say, you may not get this, and I understand that, let me help you.
Okay. So I'm still like, so it's better 2.0 is better from a cybersecurity and privacy perspective, but it's still like there's no sharp stick. So really, and then I mean,
So the sharp stick is that they'll get shut down.
So it's risk versus reward. Is the juice worth the squeeze? They have to make that decision. What's their risk tolerance? You know, do they have it good enough where I think that maybe I could like get away with not doing that because it's going to cost us, you know, 100,000 extra, 100,000 a year or more. Should I not do that? You know, what does this prevent me from doing from maybe a care perspective? Do you think you see a lot of people making those risk analysis?
So it's the risk and then the cost. So what a lot of smaller businesses are doing, smaller clinics are doing, is going into the conglomerates and getting bought up by them, so that the conglomerate is saying, we will give you our EMR, we will give you our security practices, we will do all of these things, especially in the rural areas.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Because you don't see a lot of private practices anymore. They're always part of a hospital system.
Yeah.
So that's what has happened. Is that because of HIPAA or is that because of other things?
A lot of it has, because of how the laws are changing and because of the expense of equipment and things like that, the smaller practices can't keep up. So it's just easier for them to say, just give us whatever it is you have. It's less expenditure. We have the practice already. We have the patients. We'll just do it the way you want us to do it.
So the two types that are not falling under that umbrella are dentist and probably optometrist because they're never associated with a hospital system. Do you see them as potential issues?
So yeah. So I don't know optometry very well, but at least with dentistry, there's a lot of robotic devices there that have chips and are on the network and all of those things. There's not a lot of companies that are doing, or there might be 3 handfuls of companies that are doing dentistry things. I am not quite sure what those laws are, but because they are still practicing, because they still have patient information, it's still, you are under these regulations. And if I were to make at least a hypothesis guess, those devices would need to be okayed by the FDA. So
I
they
would
would
think
still be
so
under
too.
there.
Yeah. But I'm just saying it's probably, I guess my point is they don't have a hospital system to protect them from a cybersecurity perspective. They have to do it on their own. Because you have
Mhm.
like, well, then you have like franchises like, what is it, Mr. Eyeglasses? I think, I don't know. They have a lot of optometrists there. So they maybe fall under that umbrella, but really private sector. Okay. Hmm. So
See, and
they're,
my perspective may also be different because here, I think NYU owns a bunch of their own dental companies.
mhm.
They may have bought a bunch of them, but I know that there are the isolated independent ones as well. But either way, they would at least still be under HIPAA. And it
Yeah, I
when
would think so.
when
Yeah.
and/or HIPAA 2.0 hits, they are still under the thing of we still have to secure this.
Yeah, for sure. Now, switching gears a little bit though, since you've been in it 20 years, cybersecurity, what have you seen changed I mean, it seems like to
The stress
me,
level.
the stress level, why is that? Why? Because there wasn't a lot of threats. Now there's a lot more and they're coming from all different sides, or
It's a different
what
level
is it?
of threats. It's a different level. You initially had you would just find people's information out because they would call you at the desk of Melissa Kaiser, verify your date, your address, and all these other things. That's that's the social engineering side of it. But now I don't need to have a conversation with you. I can the
Yeah.
fax, there's the fax machine issues. Everybody knows about that. That there's it's just over the air, and people are not, some of the hospitals do not put things together appropriately. The level of new laws that everybody has to know and has to be compliant with, and you have to be really friendly to understand and ask the right questions to everyone, that is adding a different level of complexity. There is more depth that you have to know, and you have to be able to say, I know that you just use words, but those words in a sentence are not giving me any kind of faith. So explain
Yeah.
it again in a different way.
Well, interesting. My brother works for a large hospital as their IT guy. I forgot what are the Epic? Epic. He does
Yeah.
Epic. He ministers Epic. So, I'm talking to him and he's like, "Oh, I just make sure, the servers have enough gerbils in them." And and I'm like, "Okay, well," and I just expand it and I'm like, "Oh, did you follow change management to go ahead and do that?" He's like, No." I'm just like, don't you think you should? He's like, yeah, but it's just faster for me. And then they have some people, he said, co-workers in India
Yeah.
because they outsourced a lot.
Yeah.
And he's asking them questions like, I forgot one of them, but they're like, you guys got to do this. And
Yep.
it was more serious than doing change management documentation, right? But he's just, and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? That doesn't, they still seem more on the CIA triad about availability versus integrity and confidentiality.
So let's dive.
Okay.
From a hospital's perspective, if I say patient safety, they're fully
Oh,
invested,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because they're talking about the human, they're talking about the
Mhm.
physical corpus. But if a cybersecurity or IT walks in and they're like patient safety, it's their information, it's the data, it's all of that. So we're missing the points of communication. We're talking about two extremely different things, and nobody is having that conversation of normalizing the words. And I think the one industry that speaks the most like cybersecurity is medical, because if you've got a
Mhm.
virus, if you've got
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
a
Yep.
worm or whatever else is going on, right? So I think if we just had better conversations of, what a virus is, it's same, it's almost the same thing when it's in your system. It expands, it duplicates, it goes into the next one. Everybody will understand each other. It'll be a faster conversation. We can move forward together. But with your changelog moment, I love data. It is my happy place. The bane of my existence is unstructured anything, because I
Mhm.
want to know what happened. I want to be able to pull things and say 6 months ago we messed up. So we're here, we need to fix it.
Mhm.
And if I don't know what change happened or who did it, you're in a different conundrum, right? Like even when you're in surgery, there's
Mhm.
a surgeon, not seven people working on the same thing. They're around you and they're supervising, but there's one surgeon depending on the surgery.
Mhm.
we as technology, as cyber, need to be much better at change management. We do not do a good job of
Nobody does
documentation.
good. No, but it takes time. It takes effort. It's easier just not to do it. And I tell my customers, I'm like, you're gonna hate me, but at any time you make a change, you got to document that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and then they, share passwords, share credentials, and I'm like, are you gonna get in trouble for what somebody else did? Do you want that? And they're like, no, but it's expensive. And I'm like, I don't care, it's just like you're not going to pass an audit,
Yes.
look through it as a lens of passing the audit because that gets people's attention. For CMMC, it's
Mhm.
at least $40,000 to do an assessment. I'm like, they're small businesses. Do you want to spend another $40,000 on an assessment that you're going to fail? No, but yeah, you have to figure out who did what and when and what did they do.
So
And
sorry, I'm writing because you're bringing me joy with all of your words.
oh, good.
There's also the triad. In case I know CIA is the triad we all live by, but when you go to risk, it's a different triad. It's what does the contract say? What does regulatory
Oh,
say?
right.
And do
Yep.
you care about your reputation?
Yeah.
And those things
Yeah.
need to be taken into consideration because any of those go wrong, you're paying one way or the other. You're either paying funding
Mhm.
or you're paying because your patients or your people are very uninterested in holding you accountable now. I think there's one more thing that we fail to take into consideration. When a lot of people don't get physical mail now. I understand that. But you get the physical mail saying, oh, there was a hack, a breach 30 days ago. And it's like, why are you telling me now? Why do I care right now? And that you should freeze your accounts and that you should do all of these things and be a little
Oh,
more
yeah.
careful. And you get the emails of this
Yeah.
got hurt and all the other things. So we, as much as they are also in a different state of frustration. It's exhaustion, the constant pinging of this happened, this happened, this happened. And you're like, it's okay. My information is just out there now. But the one thing that I think most people are much more careful about, that they care more about, is their healthcare. That's very private. That's very personal. Nobody needs to know how you got to the place that you're at. Um, and it's just how do we as the humans on the other side of this petition for it to be better? So I think with HIPAA 2.0, JCO, Joint Commission, doing what they're doing, Europe is doing great with their acts and their regulations as well.
Mhm.
There's a lot of things in the world happening just for healthcare.
Yeah. I mean, I talked to one lady and she's like HIPAA schmippa and I'm like, they can just have my information. And I'm like, well, and I was just like, really? You want them to get your medication? Other people get, so you can't get refills anymore? Your insurance, it affects your insurance and all that other stuff. She's like, oh, I didn't think
Yeah,
about that. Yeah, I do care now.
yeah.
You know? But
And
even
how
still, it
many?
just makes me mad when I get those documents in the mail. I'm like, well, shit, now I have to do something now. Now I have to cancel my credit card. Now I have to talk to them. And it's like it's creating work on me,
Yeah.
and I entrust those people to protect my stuff. That's why I go there. Although I'm kind of an asshole when I go to the doctor because I'm like, you did that wrong.
Yeah.
My stuff is not, here, or you're not protecting it. Why didn't I sign this? And they
Hmm.
just look at me because I feel like people think that the doctors are smart and they got their shit together when they really don't.
So
I
they
don't think
do.
so.
They're not the technical people. And I try to make people understand that too. When you're sitting there trying to say your mouse needs to go here, 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 and here, it's a different thing that you're teaching them. I've gotten a lot of, I didn't go to school to be a technologist. And I'm like, I completely get it. I know. But this is now a byproduct of your job. This is where we
Mhm.
are now. The data points matter. You have to do all these other things. I want to go back to your person, the lady that said HIPAA schmigma.
Mhm.
That a lot of people put 23andMe
Oh,
um when they were all like, I want to know where, I want to know my past, whatever. So everybody was spitting in tubes, sending it out, and that they got hit and a lot of information got
oh,
leaked.
23 and me got
Yeah,
hit.
they got
Oh,
hit
oh,
like a couple of years ago.
oh.
And if you read through their terms of service, it says something like you can you can we'll get rid of your sample. That's what it was. We'll get rid of your sample. And when people hear sample, they're like, oh, good, nothing else is left. The sample they're talking about is the
Oh.
cells because they're still keeping the data
Mm-hmm.
because the data means
Mm-hmm.
something for them. And that for the data for them is also a byproduct. You are a byproduct.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to think about those things. So as much as you won't be able to get your refills, true, you also don't want people to know what's wrong with you because that is a different attack vector.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So we
What
have
is
to
it?
be,
The pump, the insulin pump, right?
so
Remember
yeah,
that was a big thing.
like the more common ones are the pacemakers and the insulin pumps and things like that. But you don't want somebody to go into the pharmacy and instead of saying once a day that you take this pill, it's now 3 times a day, you are over
Dosed. Okay.
prescribed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I didn't think about that one, but yeah, they can do that. Mm.
Oh, very exciting.
So what can people do to protect themselves? Just not go to the doctor, I guess. Because GDPR is
Yeah.
right to be forgotten, but there's HIPAA laws. You can say, hey, delete all the information you have on me. You can't really do that in a doctor's office, can you? Because if you switch doctors, they still have to keep it for
For
6 years.
7 years.
It's 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. Anyway, well, this is really depressing. This is
So
really depressing.
I think we're getting, yes, this, yes, I know. Um, while it gives pause, we do still need to go to the doctor. We still need all of our care. We still need all of these things. So instead of castigating the industry, it's how can we help you? Let's have normalized conversations. Let's talk about you having a virus, me having a virus. Um, Giving people more awareness and being able to listen to them talk. I think that is one of the things that we don't do well. I used to volunteer for Visiting Nurses of New York, and we did an exercise of just sitting there for 2 minutes while the other person talked or didn't talk and just being silent and having the ability to listen without replying. And I do this with people in my personal life. I am not asking you for a solution. I know what I need to do. I just need to feel heard and I just
Yeah.
need you to listen. And we don't do that enough. Everything with the way that our industries work and the way that commerce works is I have a fix for that. I have a fix for that. I have a fix for that. But you haven't let me finish. You haven't heard my whole problem because there may be nuances that I'm not talking about right now. So again, we're in this weird transition phase of we are going to secure cybersecurity in healthcare. There's a lot of things coming out. We have to normalize conversations and we have to bring everybody back up. You're secure now, your patients are secure. For me, healthcare is the center of all 16 critical infrastructures. Because if you can fix healthcare, you can fix everything else. Because
That's
everything goes
interesting.
into healthcare.
Oh. Now, you did say one thing that was really interesting about just listening to people talk. I agree. People just want to be heard. I don't know if you know, I used to work at the Social Security Administration, the welfare program, and just people just want, I mean, I just asked a question and I just let them go and they just wanted to be heard, because it was like their life story were amazing. I mean, I got some crazy stories that I'm just like, uh, and they just wanted to be heard.
Mhm.
And that's what I was there to listen to. But I find like when I work in compliance, I ask a ton of questions. I ask the same question different ways and I always will get a different answer
Mhm.
because of the way I ask the question. And it's just like for me, the more questions I ask, I can get through a lot of the layers because either they don't think about certain things or they don't want to tell me, and it eventually comes out when I ask it a certain way.
Mhm.
I find that most of my time I just ask questions and I just feel like maybe, I don't know, sometimes people in the industry don't want to ask the question because they don't want to look stupid or they look like they don't know what they're talking about. And I feel like, no, I mean, maybe I just I don't know. I don't know. Do you feel that too? That just sometimes in the industry, since it's such a new industry and it's going so fast, that sometimes they just don't want to ask questions, or they don't want to look stupid, or they feel like they're the emperor that wears no clothes.
What are the three hardest words to say in English?
I don't know. Yeah.
Or I don't
Okay. So it's
understand.
so it's more so psychology than anything else. So yeah, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know, but I'll find out because that's a really good question. I never thought of it like that. Um,
My
so
favorite
yeah,
thing to say is I don't understand. I tell everybody I don't understand. I'm not trying to be the smartest person in the room. I explain it again. It's me. I don't understand. Tell me again. And they will. And most people are super open about it, or, go Google. And it's like, I did. I did, and I
yeah,
still don't
yeah,
understand.
yeah.
Um, I want to push back on something, and I feel like there might be a compliance. This is not my realm. Um, so David and I were talking yesterday about titles, house titles, land titles, something like that. Um, and I had a recall of one of the talks that I had heard that after people's passing, that the house deeds, that's what it was, deeds, house
Okay.
deeds, they're getting signed over to other people because they're finding out in the obituaries that this person died, and they're going in and they're taking the house deed and they're writing their name, and they're doing um they're taking loans out against the house or against the
Oh,
land or
wow.
something like that.
Wow.
And I was absolutely mind blown because that has been a fear of mine for about the past 2 years, that there would be loans against my mom's house because she had passed, and I was like, oh, I wouldn't know about it. So you have to have all of these alerts, you have to know all of these things. And
Mm.
if something happens with that loan, not loan, if somebody takes out a loan, do you get pinged? Who do you call? And we started looking into that yesterday. And I think that is also a byproduct of healthcare, because we
They
don't
died.
do, because they died. And I don't think we do, like, in the aftermath of death, we don't do a good job of securing that data either.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things in the probate courts that's just wide open, and then the land is open, and
Hmm.
there's so many steps post that nobody is connecting and saying that we need to protect that, or have education on that. I don't know how old you are, but remember when home ec was a thing and they were like, you need to learn how to cook eggs and wash
Yeah.
a dish,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So why aren't we teaching people this is how you do the maths, and this is how you do um, estate planning. This is how you lawyer up for other stuff. And we don't do that well. I think that is something from a cybersecurity standpoint that we can start influencing more, because right now we have, I think it's 5 or 6 generations that are all living together simultaneously. So silent, um, it's the silent generation, the great generation, the boomers, Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, Alpha, and I don't know if there's a Bravo yet. So 8, 7, 7. And we're all living in the same time frame, doing all these different things, and there's not a lot of education on the protections of how to ensure that survivability happens and that you are protected yourself the whole way through.
Yeah. And now since you're saying that, I am slightly terrified now because my parents are up there and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go visit them. I need to talk to them about that kind of stuff and what they need to do to protect them because, I watch a lot of squatter videos about squatters just coming in and yeah, and I have a couple rentals and I'm like, oh, how do I prevent people from doing that? Because they just produce a deed or a some kind of documentation that said this is my house and it's like, and then the police does nothing about it and you're like, well, it's
So,
a
so
civil
that,
matter.
yes.
And
So
it's
it's
like,
the
no,
same
man.
question. No, we're still talking
Uh,
about cybersecurity and
Okay, okay,
MSPs, because
okay,
there's
okay.
still the like with the title thing that I was talking about. Um, that's a huge economy right there.
Oh yeah, I mean, you've heard like, my husband's ex-wife wired some money and she wired it to the wrong place.
Oh,
And oh, you didn't, oh yeah. So they were hacked, the title company was hacked, right? And then They sent an email to the ex-wife saying, because she's buying a house, you need to wire transfer $15,000 to this. And of course, the title company never got it. But I am like, oh, I've heard this a long time. So when I bought my house, I called up the title company. I'm like, I verified the wiring address. Is this correct? I just Googled them and called that number instead of the number that they emailed me. And they're like, yes, thank you for calling and confirming this
Mhm.
because this happens a lot. And it's just like, ugh, I would be, the title company totally at fault, totally liable.
Yeah,
But
but think about
there
how
again,
lucrative that is.
yeah, but I mean, because they're transferring thousands and thousands of dollars, but the thing is like, why aren't they regulated? Why aren't they required to follow these what framework do they need to file? I mean, they're a franchise. They're just they paid $50,000 to open up this. They follow a checklist. Okay, cool. The title search is all good and blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, so what are repercussions from, the public when this happens?
So is it that she's getting her money back? It's probably not because they don't have her money. So they're not going to give a refund for
Exactly.
something that they don't have.
So then
But
they have to deal with a bank,
right,
but
right.
it's a wire
And
transfer. How are they going to get that back?
right. So we're back in that situation of there's lost trust, there's the reputational value, there's all these other things, and now she may not want to buy this house.
Well, she
So
does still
it's
want to buy this house, but it's just like, so usually it's the realtor that says, "Hey, go to this title company." Then it's just like, well, this isn't a good title company, and then it's just like reputational damage all around.
we've come into the part of our life where we are all, I trust you. I got the email. Thank you. Or you want this thing to happen so bad that you're like, I trust it. I'm going to work through it. It's going to be great. We're not verifying enough, or we're not asking for enough credentials to really verify things. I am the same person. I will call people. I hate being on the phone. I will call people and say, did you just send me that email? Because you spelled three things wrong, and that's not how you function. The sentence cadence doesn't sound like you. And they're like, no, 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 I'm just stressed. I was trying to get the email out to you. Okay. Okay.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
then
I mean,
and you have to have secret questions with people now, right? Like, when was the last time you looked at the Eiffel Tower? And they're like, oh, 4 days ago with you. Like, yes, yes, me and you. Yes. Okay. And then you move
yeah,
on.
the whole challenge and passwords back from the days. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, my coworkers are like, "Hey, Melissa, I saw that you asked for my cell phone number," and I'm like, no, I didn't. And they show me the email and it says, the sign off is kindly Melissa Kaiser. I'm like, do I use kindly with you? Have you ever seen me be that polite? I am not
Yeah.
that polite.
That is
Like, oh,
AI. AI uses kindly.
yeah. And I'm just like, does that even sound like me? I swear I cuss words and I'm like, I need it now. That's what I would be saying. Please send now.
Yeah.
Not, I don't do kindly. I'm not that polite. Like, really? But yeah, yeah. So yeah, always verify stuff. And I am a complete asshole to these people because I know they don't know anything. I know they're like, "Oh, just email me your credit card information." I'm like,
Yeah.
no, what in what world do you think this is okay? We're a cybersecurity company. You're asking me to email you, fill out this piece of paper and an attachment and send it to you? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
This is your plan?
Yeah.
And you're a cybersecurity company too? It's like, what's wrong with you? It's like, no, send me an encrypted link or, whatever, pick it up here, and they're like, oh, just blows my mind. But
Yeah. But I think
anyhow,
we're in the phase of the world where we're so accustomed to everything being online and not having to step outside or call anybody that we're okay with it. And I think
yeah.
we're all also we're not okay with being hacked, but we're also maybe not afraid of it so much anymore.
Yeah, because we got, I mean, how many pieces of mail have you gotten that your credentials were stolen? How many? I about like 10 letters or something. Now it's like, ugh, what can I do?
I get
I
all these
can't do it.
emails telling me that I didn't pay bills, and I'm like,
Oh yeah, those text
thanks.
messages.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, FedEx. I got a letter from FedEx and I'm like, I rip it up now because I'm like, I think this is bogus, so I just ignore it now. So, yeah, I get that too. So I just ignore them. I'm like, if they really want it, they'll work a little harder to get it from me and they'll
right.
try different ways to do it.
Yes.
So, yeah. Anyhow, okay, we're at an
We could
hour. I know
talk,
we could
yes.
talk more. Before we wrap, I always like to ask this. Who is a peer or mentor you generally look up to and why?
Oh, you're
What
gonna hate
is
my
part of the
answer.
work?
You're gonna hate my
What?
answer. So it's David.
Oh.
I know. David, the first time I met David, I was so mad at him because I was working on my computer and he touched my screen. And I was
Oh.
like, what are you doing? And he says he didn't touch my screen, but he did. Um, I,
So David is the CEO of SOCSoter, so
yeah.
I have to put that out there.
And like for full disclosure, I've known him for about 7 years. And I tell everybody that works with him every day with him is a master class because it is. He will, I enjoy arguing. And from a logical point of view, not to fight, but he's very good at saying yes or no to things and tempering ideas down or saying, you know what, that could work. Go think about that for 2 more days and come back with a fully fleshed out whatever. And that has been my relationship with him for the past 7 years.
So how many arguments have you won against him and proved him wrong?
It's
Is
probably
there
like
a lot?
three. No, I
Oh,
don't know.
really?
I don't. I think with him, it's because I talk to him a lot, and I don't know if I can count anymore. I just know that I am ideological and he is logic. I want everything to be done, and he's like, "Why don't we just try one before we do all five?" And I'm like, "But what if we did all five?" And he's
Oh, I
like,
would like all five.
"We
Yeah.
can do
Five
that,
is-
but we got to see that one works." I'm like, "Or we could build it." And he's like, "Let's do one." All right, fine.
Wow, that's interesting because he's usually the one that says, I want to have this, 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 and this. And I'm like, okay, let's be a little bit more um uh let's have a little bit more common sense because this isn't all gonna
Yeah.
work. It's gonna
Yeah.
go sideways. The
I've
first one
had
is
that
gonna
with
go
him too.
sideways.
Because when
Yeah.
he's building, it's beautiful. But sometimes I'm like, oh, it's so much. It's so bright. It's so much movement. You have to calm it down because you don't know where to look. Um, but I think from the visual standpoint, like the way that he's doing the dashboards right now, they're bright, they're beautiful, they keep bubbles around. You're looking at everything where I like a little more static. I like, oh, I know where my information is. Anyway, David is one of those people that I'm like, all right, you can prove me wrong and I won't get upset.
Yeah. Yeah, he's very good at taking ideas and putting them into creation and making it work. There's not a lot of people that can do that,
Mhm.
especially complicated things like that.
And he's
That
so
he
good at
does.
explaining them. Yes.
Yes, yes. But I do win arguments sometimes on a compliance side of the house that he just like, oh, I'm like, yes.
Yeah. That's not his happy place. He's good at it, but that's not his happy place.
Yeah, no, that's really nobody's, probably just you. And I don't even like it all the time either because it gets very tiring and very it's like probably like lawyers, you're just looking at a book and reading and words and words and words and seeing if they make sense or not.
When I was in law school, they kept saying whoever wins is the one that had the most creative argument, and they are not
Oh,
wrong. And if you ever look at case law and it's the same thing, different jurisdictions, different arguments, it's just how'd you get away with that? Well, because they used the one differentiating word in the whole thing. It's like, yeah, that no, that totally makes sense.
wow. Wow. Hmm. But lawyers are the smartest person in the room though, right?
No, no, no. They
I'm
they
just
know the
kidding. I'm
law
kidding.
really well, but
Yeah. No, but anyway. Okay, let's see. Okay, for anyone listening who wants to connect with you or learn more, where is the best place to reach you?
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn?
Yeah,
Is it Janine
yeah,
Medina?
yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. And your LinkedIn post is updated, so it still looks like you?
Yes, it does look
Okay.
like me.
Mine's like 10 years old, but I think I still look the same. So a little bit, just the
Like the
glasses.
hair is in the same position and everything. I don't.
Okay, good. So you are recognizable.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to the SOCSoter Unfiltered podcast. Be sure to check out other episodes and subscribe so you don't miss out on great conversations.